Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kimberly if you are new here, and today we're going to be discussing my favorite books of 2022. I read 95 books. Here are my favorites. So in January, I picked up a series that changed my life forever, and I know that I'm being dramatic, but also at the same time I am being honest. This series was so good. After a very long reading rut, this is exactly what I needed to get back into the groove of reading, and it is the Ravenhood series. I haven't read anything else by the author. I just read those books and I absolutely loved them. Of course, you've probably heard it by now. Everyone talks about it, whether they like it or they don't. I personally really liked it, and I recommend going into this if you love romance, if you love suspense. If you do, trust me when I say, don't look at the reviews, don't do anything, just go into it not knowing, not expecting anything, and just let the story unfold. That's how I did it, and I found it the most satisfying, not knowing anything and just experiencing it for the first time. It was so good. Come February of 2022, I was in the mood for some fantasy, so I actually picked up this Fae series by Catherine Ann Kingsley. I think I read book 1, 2, and 3, and I believe it's called The Maze of Shadows. I'm going to put it up here because I do not remember off the top of my head, but I absolutely loved these. If you grew up watching The Labyrinth and was really jealous of Sarah going on this amazing adventure and kind of fell in love with the Goblin King even though you know that you shouldn't have, and as an adult you've been looking for something that gives you that spark that The Labyrinth did, I recommend reading this series. It is so good. Think adult spicy romance, The Labyrinth, Fae, but with like Holly Black-esque world. The Fae, the monsters, the creatures, they feel otherworldly. It's not just like a human with bat wings. Nothing's wrong with that, but this is an entirely different world than most Fae books that we read nowadays. In a good way, I think. It's just very good. I read the first 3 books. I didn't finish the series, but not because I didn't enjoy it. It was because I got burnt out and I wanted to kind of put some space and read some other things and dive back into it. I never got around to reading it, but I remember absolutely loving this series, and I do want to get back into starting it over and reading it all the way through. And I found that I just really like Catherine Ann Kingsley's writing style. I highly recommend if you're into adult, spicy romance, fae, all of that, you like the Goblin King, this is for you, trust me. I tell everyone who loves fae books to read this. It's so good. I'll quickly also mention that I read Crescent City for the first time. I had picked this book up like 3 times previously and never finished it. I think I read like the first 3 chapters twice and never got around to finishing it. I finally finished it in February of 2022. I loved it. I won't go into it too much because at this point you've either read it, heard about it, don't want to read it. So I will just say that I loved Crescent City. I didn't necessarily enjoy her other books too much, but I really liked this series and I do want to continue on and read the second one this year. March was a pivotal reading month for me because I read so many books that to this day are some of my absolute favorites. I got into reading Coralie June. Specifically, I started reading her mafia dark romance series called The Malice. I think it's 3 or 4 books. I devoured these. They were so good. They're some of my favorite dark mafia romances. In the Malice series, it follows the main character whose best friend is Vicky, and she comes in every once in a while to where she works at the diner, and they have conversations. She's fully aware that her best friend is a mafia princess, aka a sister to the mafia, but she's not allowed to ask any questions. That's as far as it goes. One thing leads to another, and this main character is thrusted into the dark, seedy world of the mafia and having to try and stay alive and deal with her best friend's 3 brothers. It is so good. I highly recommend it. It's amazing. It's such a wild ride from beginning to end. It's insane. It's wide choose. It's dark. I would definitely look into trigger warnings and make sure that you're interested in like pursuing it further before you dive into it. It is so good. I love her writing style. Side note, she just released a new book as I'm filming this year called No Such King. I think it's like a wide choose fantasy romance. I think I'm on chapter 3 or 4 right now, and it's really good so far. So it's just kind of full circle seeing that. But I did read the Malice series, loved it. And then from there, I hopped onto another one of June's books, which is a duology called Bastards and Scapegoats. And I swear, I think about Hamilton, which is the main love interest, at least once a week. It's been a year, I still think about him. He's easily one of my favorite love interests I've ever read. I don't know what it is about this man, but he has me in a chokehold. I can't. I love him so much. It follows the main character who ends up falling for her new stepfather's brother, so her step uncle. He's not super older than her. I think he's I want to say like she's like 18, 19, 20, and he's probably like 26. So not terrible. So yeah, I'm not too sure, but it is age gap, forbidden, step uncle romance. She didn't grow up with this man. Her mom literally just married and she's an adult and it's the whole thing. Anyways, it was really good. I really liked it. Hamilton is funny, unexpected. He's rich, but also really humble. And I think that if I remember correctly, he's super rich, but he doesn't take any money from his family and he works like on a rig off into like the ocean or whatever, so he's gone for a couple weeks at a time and then he comes back, so he's like a hard working man or whatever. I don't know, it was really good. I really like Hamilton. Highly recommend if you want a fun, quick, easy read. I liked that one. Then I read J. Bree's Bonds That Tie books 1 through 3, and of course I'm sure you've heard about these. It is wide shoes, dark romance, fantasy, paranormal, follows Oleander as she refuses her bonds and then kind of like has to deal with the aftermath of that, plus magic. It's really, really good. It's worth all of the hype that it gets. If for whatever reason it piqued your interest but you haven't picked it up yet, I recommend doing so. It is so good. Then I read Her Soul for Revenge, which is by Harley LaRue. If you haven't read the first one, which is Her Soul to Take, that was really good. I also really liked this one. I thought that the main protagonist was really interesting because she had so much built up rage in her, and she was just different than a lot of the books that I read. She was morally gray, borderline a terrible person, and it was just a really fun read. I like the idea of heroines getting revenge for people who've done them wrong, and you know, what does it say about me? I don't know. I just like murderous women. So I really liked this one. April started off strong. I read Marriage for One, which follows Jack and Rose, and it is a contemporary romance. This was so good. I think about it all the time. At first, I wasn't feeling Jack. I was like, he's a little stale, he's a little dry, I don't know about this. I pushed through. I really liked it. I particularly really liked Rose. I just swooned over her. She was just a really good main character. She was adorable, she was sweet, she was persistent. I was like, get your man. You know, so I just really liked her. Then I read Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. Absolutely look into the trigger warnings for this one. This one is dark. It was good. It was dark. It was good. Then I read By a Thread by Lucy Score. This was my first Lucy Score book, and I devoured this. It was so sweet, so good, so funny. Lucy Score has a innate, beautiful ability just to make you genuinely laugh and just have a good time the entire way through. The pacing is always really quick, really well done, fully immersed in this world, and she's so quick and witty and funny. Few books genuinely make me like cackle out loud. Lucy Score, specifically this By the Thread book, 100% made me audibly cackle like a little gremlin. I loved it so much. My next favorite is City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. You guys, if you like swoon-worthy, morally gray love interests who are tortured and touch her and you die, like, I hate everybody except for you, I'm big, mean, bad, mysterious, but I'm a little mushball when it comes to the girl that I love, he will do anything for his love interest. And the love interest is the main character. She's sweet, kind, super caring, a golden retriever. Like, she's just sweet as anything. She deserves the world. I love her so much. If you like the Crescent City series, please go read this book. It is adult fantasy. It's a thick one, but I promise you, you will love it. It's urban fantasy in a really interesting environment. There's really cool magic systems that I've never really seen before. The main love interest is like a bounty hunter who can sense auras, and that's how he tracks people. It is so interesting. It's so good. Please go read it. It's so good, and if you love Crescent City, you will adore this book. It's an indie author. She's wonderful. The next book comes out next month, I believe, in February. Cannot wait. I've been just constantly looking up on the author's Instagram for updates because I am so excited for book 2. Then I read Darling Venom, which is another tragic, dark romance. This one was really sad. It follows the main character who in high school ended up befriending someone who later then took their own life. And then it flashes forward to her dealing with the grief and falling in love with his older brother. It's really dark. Definitely look into the trigger warnings. It is wonderful. It's just so tragic and so beautiful. And I remember reading it and being like, this is how you make somebody feel. It is so good. The next book is by Jennifer Hartman as well, and is probably my favorite book that I've read all year. It's called Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. And I hear everyone talking about still beating, but I don't ever hear anyone mention Lotus. Guys, Lotus is so good. It follows Oliver, who was in captivity for 20 years. I think he was captured at 7, and he was in an underground bunker for 20 years. And now he's back in society after escaping. He's trying to come to terms with the fact that the world hasn't ended like he was told, following grief and trauma and anxiety. And it's so beautiful. The main character was his best friend growing up. So it's a childhood friends to adult romance. So now they're both in their mid to late 20s, and it's just about finding yourself after trauma and healing. And it's so, I'm not even describing it well. Please just go read this book. When I say I think about Oliver once a day, this man is a full person in my brain. He's not fiction at this point. He's a full person. I think about him once a day. I'm wondering how his little comics are doing. I'm wondering how he likes his job at the library. Like, I love this man. So if you're looking for something that's sweet and a little tragic and heartfelt with a really beautiful underlying story and a budding romance that'll just have you absolutely swooning. It's so funny. He doesn't mean to be funny, but he's really funny, and it makes you feel every single emotion. I recommend this book to anybody, everybody. I'm constantly shoving this book recommendation down everyone's throat. No one reads it, and I'm like, why is everyone sleeping on this book? I need somebody to read it so I can discuss it, because I love this book so much. So please go read it, and then go into Instagram and DM me so that way I can swoon with you. Or tell me that you're going to read it so I can buddy read with somebody, because I'm actually going to be rereading this book, I'm pretty sure, like in February. So anyways, side note, just go read this book. It's been so long since I talked. I'm just usually by myself in my room. I need some water. Then I read Lovely Bad Things by Trisha Wolfe. This is dark romance once again. Obviously, you can kind of see a theme here. But if you like serial killer, cat and mouse kind of game with like mind tricks and a really bad, terrible person, if you like Criminal Minds, this is for you. It follows an occult professor who's put on trial for murder, and the woman who is testifying against him. They have to team up to solve another murder together, and he is absolutely horrifically just terrifying. Obviously, you can imagine it's not a good time when the person you put away for murder is now working with you to solve another murder, because his knowledge on the occult is so specific. He's the only person that you can use to actually put this person away. So it's a murder mystery, dark romance, it's serial killer and the main interest. It's so good. Then I reread Banzai 1 through 3 because the 4th one came out. I liked the 4th one as well, just want to put that in there. Then I picked up The Dukes of Ruin and Dukes of Madness. This is a branching off series. The first series I think is Lords, and then this one's The Dukes. It's college bully romance, why choose dark romance. It's really good. I prefer the Dukes series to the Lords, but I also really liked the Lords. It follows a female main character who has a really tragic backstory and a lot of trauma, and some really terrible guys. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, they're just really terrible people, all of them. They're really bad people, but it was really interesting to read. I'm not idolizing these relationships whatsoever. Like, again, they're terrible people, but it makes for an interesting read, and I really enjoyed it. I forgot about this one. What If You and Me by Ronnie Loren. This was so good. It's neighbors romance, and it follows a ex-firefighter who was injured on the job, and now he can't work anymore, and he's trying to find his place in the world now that he can't help people. And the main character is a horror novelist and true crime junkie. I think she has a podcast. It was really sweet. I liked this one. I forgot all about this. I need to reread it. It was so good. I think it's the second book in the series, but you don't have to read them. like in order, I don't think, because I didn't and I was fine. I love this one. It was so good. This felt nice in particular because I think in contemporary romance they fall flat for me sometimes because the relationship feels a little unequal. You have the female main character and she falls for this guy, and then this guy is wonderful, amazing, and does all these amazing things for them and prove that they're the one who should be in the relationship and they're the right guy for her. But then you don't really typically see the female main character doing the same for them and supporting them emotionally and physically throughout their journey. In this one, it was the exact opposite. They were both equally invested in the relationship, supporting each other and making each other grow and change in ways that they individually wanted to. Like, he's struggling to find his path in the world now that he's no longer a firefighter, and she pushes him to try new things and get out of his comfort zone and to help him find and explore passions. It's something that I didn't realize that I was missing in contemporary romances until this book, and then I went, wait, that doesn't happen that often. And once I saw that, I was like, I'm forever changed. I need every romance book to be equal grounds. I want the main character. I want the main character to find her individual way, but to also help out the love interest and for it to be an equal exchange. This really changed my approach on writing myself, but also reading, and made me realize that I like equal partnerships. So, yeah. Then I read Baking with Benefits by Lily Gold. So good. It's a sweet and steamy why choose romance. It was incredible. I will say, I read another one of her books, Nanny for the Neighbors, this month as I'm recording it, so a whole 6 months later. I really enjoyed Nanny for the Neighbors, which is surprising, and it made me appreciate Lily Gold that much more. I already really liked Faking with Benefits. As you can imagine by the title, is a fake relationship. But Lily Gold, as a writer, has these compelling romances that feel realistic. It's funny, it's witty, it makes you genuinely laugh. Forget that these are just little people in an author's brain that she just wrote on some dead trees. Like, you're just reading this book and you're laughing, you're enjoying, you're having a good time, and then it's over and you're like, what do you mean it's over? What do you mean I can't live in this world and experience these relationships for the rest of my life? I love Lily Gold's writing. She's so clever. She's so funny. All of her love interests are always equally as strong as one another. There's never one that I don't like or that I wish just wasn't included at all. They all always make sense. Because sometimes in Why Choose Romances, there's always a weaker link or someone where you're like, she doesn't really need to be with those 4 dudes. She can just kick this one off and be with the 3. Like, what does he bring to the table here? Why does she need to be in a relationship with this guy? You know what I mean? That doesn't happen in Lily Gold's world. They genuinely feel like relationships that matter and that have meaning, and they're just always so good. So if you like steamy, spicy, Why Choose contemporary romances that are witty and funny and full of banter and just absolutely delightful to read from beginning to end, and you haven't picked up Lily Gold, what are you doing? Go drop everything and read Lily Gold. I promise you, your life will be changed. She's so good. Then I read Kiss the Fae, which is a part of the Vicious Fae series. Again, if you like Labyrinth, Goblin King, morally gray characters, Fae, definitely pick up this book. I haven't read the other ones. I'm waiting for my Fae Crate special edition box to come in. I read this first book, which is Kiss the Fae. I loved it so much, and then I was like, okay, let me buy this box set. It's so pretty. I need it. It hasn't shipped yet, and I'm waiting for those books to come in so I can continue the series, but I loved the first one. I highly recommend it. It was a really interesting world, super quick read. It's a morally gray love interest. She's thrusted accidentally into this Fae world. If she can survive, then she can be free, essentially. So think like Fae, Goblin King, her versus an entire community of Fae who are trying to kill her. It's just so good. I recommended it. Like I said, if you like the Labyrinth and you like Fae, give it a try. It's an adult romance. The last book is actually not a book, it's a series, and it's the Whitsex series. These were so good. Again, another suspense, thriller, dark romance, Why Choose. It follows the main character who had to uproot her life and go into the witness protection program after her entire family was, you know what I mean? And she's on the run. Then she moves into this, I think it's in Arizona, she moves into this community, and then she falls in love with the guys next door. I'm pretty sure she's like 18 or 19, but she had to stay back a grade because of everything, so she's a senior in high school, but she's actually like an adult. It's consensual and adult. 4 brothers, a set of twins, and then there's 2 older ones, 4 dudes. It's really good. I think the last one in the series comes out this year. I really liked it. I liked it so much that I reread the series like twice. If you want something that's quick, dark, gritty, fun, has suspense and thriller elements to it, definitely pick up this. I really enjoyed it. If you stayed this long, thank you so much. I'm a little rusty when it comes to talking about books, but I'm hoping to dive more deep into book reviews as I go along with my journey of reading this year, because I kind of fell off the map a little bit when it came to books. 2022, I read a lot. I didn't review as much because I was so busy with other things. Now I'm trying to prioritize reading and reviewing and writing. Appreciate you supporting and watching the video. Hopefully I've helped you find some new books to add to your TBR list, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.